Welcome to We Are the People with Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who ask you to know what's happening with your student loan. Tracy and Jorge keep a deep look at student loans in this country and the industries that surround it. Every week, We Are the People will bring you new insight into the corporate welfare industry, such as bailouts, and they connect with student loans. The show will highlight on your constitutional rights and how the current system is built to infringe upon them. Join the conversation by visiting our website chat room at wearethepeople.tv. Or call the show at 888-565-1470 and let us hear from you. And now, let's tune in to Tracy and Jorge for this week's discussion.
Rick Stroll in the host seat tonight. A lot of interesting things going on. I'm hoping that you're willing to call in and have a chat. 888-565-1470, as our wonderful announcer has told us already. Interesting stuff going on here. You'll recall last May that Sallie Mae and its surrogate Navient were fined $130 million for overcharging the troops on their college loans, their student loan payments. And then we heard that Sallie Mae was being charged $96.6 million in a settlement. Did they ever pay? I did some research on the internet today. Couldn't find any evidence that they actually paid. I wonder what's going on. What's happening there? We've talked in the last few weeks about important things that are going on. An effort to take over the internet, to regulate the internet by the Federal Communications Commission and the administration. Regulation of the internet is going to put our rights to speak as we wish in jeopardy. There's no good reason for the federal government to regulate the internet. All they want to do is tax us and shut us down. Write to your congressman. Write to your senators. Tell them, I don't want the FCC and the federal government to regulate the internet. The whole basis of the internet, the foundation of the internet, the purpose for the internet was free and frank communication, to allow people to communicate with each other and express ideas, the marketplace of ideas. We don't need Big Brother controlling the internet and controlling our ideas. Senior tax nightmares. The Senior Americans Association is talking about the problems that seniors often run into, having their Social Security taxed. Over 40% of seniors are paying taxes on their Social Security benefits. You know, we've paid in over the decades, over the years, out of each and every paycheck for our Social Security. Why is it that it's looked at as a gift from the government? If anything, the government's given us a raw deal by taking back what it was that we were supposed to be saving for our retirements, by taxing what it was that we were supposed to be saving for our retirements. And what happened? There is no Social Security Trust Fund. They've taken all that money and they've spent it. Trillions of dollars over the decades. And now they're threatening to cut it back, to shut it down because it's too expensive for the nation. Talk to your congressman. Talk to your senator. Tell them, no. We paid in. We paid in out of every paycheck for those benefits. Do not cut those benefits. As it is, you mess us over on cost of living agreements, all right? Because you don't calculate cost of living expenses, increases. You don't calculate major elements as a part of your formula. Things like food and fuel, we have to buy those things. Those things are expensive. Those costs, except for the last several months, have basically gone up and up. Food has not gone down the last time I looked in the grocery store. Fuel has, but now it's bottomed and it's coming back up. Right? And if the administration had its way, we'd be paying $8 a gallon for gas, not $2.20 or $2.25, as many of us are paying now. All right? So talk to your congressmen and senators. Let them know. Check out this Senior Americans Association. They might be interesting. They might have some interesting stuff for you. What else do we have? There's a petition here from Political Insider, right, regarding the weakening of patent legislation, the patent protections for people that are inventors. Why is it that the government keeps chiseling down our liberties, keeps chiseling down our protections, keeps chiseling down the things that we paid for? Why is it that the government takes more and more and more? That's not the role of government. That's not what our government was founded on. That's not what it was formed for. That's not the reason. Take a look at the Political Insider and sign the petition to protect patent rights. The reason we want to protect patent rights is to encourage inventors to invent, to put the work in, so that they can get a return on their effort, on their work. They can get the benefit of what it is that they've done. That's the American way. That's what I was taught in school, even though they don't teach that in school anymore. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's a big part of the problem. The people that run the schools, the federal government, the Department of Education, is not teaching American values. Right? We need to deal with that. Do you really believe our financial problems have been fixed? I don't think so. We're still running up trillions of dollars in deficit. This administration has already run up more deficit than all the other administrations combined. We're talking 235 years, folks. That's a lot of debt for one administration to run up. Protect internet freedom. Protect internet freedom. We talked about that. Talk to your congressmen and senators. Look for petitions online. Interesting. The FBI has opened ISIS cases in 49 U.S. states. Thus far, the only state that they haven't opened up ISIS cases in is Alaska. Does that concern you? We got a southern border. We got a northern border. And none of them under control, especially the southern border. Who knows what's coming across that border? We know drugs are coming across. We know guns are moving back and forth. The administration has moved guns back and forth and given them, fast and furious, to the cartels, the drug cartels, the same people that are fighting the Mexican army. And the Mexican army is not exactly pure as driven snow either. Speaking of one more cover-up, apparently, our new Attorney General nominee, the person that the government has nominated to be Attorney General to take Eric Holder's place, Loretta Lynch, apparently has played a significant role in a $1 billion cover-up, a money laundering scheme by a New York, actually an international bank, HSBC, an international bank, apparently has been laundering money through Mexico for the drug cartels. Billions and billions of dollars. They set aside $2 billion to pay the penalty, to pay the fee that the government was going to tab them with. That's not been collected. And in fact, the penalty is less than $1.6 billion, somewhere in that ballpark. Right? Loretta Lynch, she's refused to prosecute. No criminal prosecutions in this matter. Imagine that. You have senior officers of the bank, apparently, according to documentation provided by whistleblowers, and the federal government, the attorney, the federal attorney, the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York has refused even to look at the documentation or to bring the criminal charges that are deserved in that matter. why is the federal government protecting money launderers, drug cartels, and bad guys? Why is it leaving the border open? Why does it insist on leaving the border open and not controlling the border? Here we got ISIS in 49 states. How did they get here? I submit to you that some of them, at a minimum, crossed the border. Who knows what weapons were brought across? Who knows what other problems were brought across? Our federal government was founded for a purpose. It was founded to protect us. It was founded to do the things that individual states could not do and to harmonize our values and to provide us our values and to protect our values. It was provided to protect our nation. Instead of the states having to deal with small militias that were uncoordinated, the federal government was supposed to put together a military and maintain strength to protect our borders and to protect our nation from enemies, from potential enemies. Peace through strength. Without an army, without a navy, without protection, without the federal government doing its job, we're weak. We're not strong. And that tempts those that would subjugate us. And in point of fact, with all these regulations created by the executive branch, allowed by Congress apparently, with all these regulations, we're being subjugated more each and every day. That's not what we were here for. Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Everybody knows that. That all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's why we got a government. Deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of this nation, of the people of this nation. We don't want to lightly change government, but government is not doing what it's supposed to do. Our Constitution, remember, we had the Revolutionary War, we had the Continental Congress, which was a creature of the state assemblies, of the colonial assemblies that became state assemblies. Right? The Continental Congress governed us until the end of the war. And after that, the states entered into an agreement, the Articles of Confederation. Well, the Articles were too weak to govern us, and the states were squabbling amongst themselves, and it was a very unproductive and dangerous situation. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, the one we had wasn't working too good. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The purpose of the Constitution, the purpose of the federal government, was to protect our liberty, was to protect our freedom, was to protect our ability and to enhance our ability to pursue happiness, to live the way each of us as individuals decided we wanted to live. Obviously, there are limits to liberty, but our federal government has placed far too many limits and continues on a daily basis to place more and more limits on our liberty and to subjugate us to a regime of rules and regulations for no good reason. Now we're talking about the EPA putting 400 pages nearly of regulations on wood stoves. Wood stoves, items that are critical in areas that are in the countryside. I'm not talking about the cities. I'm not talking about downtown. I'm not talking about densely populated areas per se, but people that live out in the country. There are lots of them. And the federal government wants to make it impossible, or nearly so, for them to buy new wood stoves with the regulations and the requirements that they're placing on those stoves. That's the cheapest way for them to heat. That's the most efficient way for them to heat and even cook through the winter to keep themselves alive. And here we got a government that's doing everything it can, seemingly, to prevent them from doing that. You know, you have to ask the question. You have to wonder, what's going on here? Why is this government doing these things? You know, we bailed out the corporations, and the government is asking for more taxes. Billions of dollars in more taxes. Where are those billions of dollars coming from? They're not coming from the rich. We have this class warfare going on, but the rich don't have enough money to make up those billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in taxes that the government wants. And what's the government going to spend them on? Wasting more and more money, still not controlling our borders, allowing people to come across. I have compassion for people, but the government was founded to have compassion for the citizens, for the legal residents of the country. There are laws on the books about immigration. Why is the government, the federal government, not enforcing those laws? You know, we talked about the Constitution. We talked about Article 1, which was about the legislature. That's the primary body. The legislature makes the laws. And then we talked in Article 2. Right? We talked about the presidency. I submit that the president, on a certain level, is subordinate to the laws that are made by the Congress. Right? Article 2, the president takes an oath of office. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. What is the Constitution about? Protecting the liberty of the people. Why is that not happening? Why is the executive branch not protecting us? Why is the executive branch not in favor of the citizens? Section 3, talking about the duties of the president. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Where do the laws come from? Laws come from the legislature, the Congress. Obviously, he signs those laws into law, but the laws that exist. They existed prior to taking office, this administration taking office. He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Why is it that our laws are not being faithfully executed? What's wrong with this picture? What is going on here? What is at issue? Now I've been meaning to talk about the Veterans Administration because we have veterans from this country that were promised health care. They were promised benefits. They don't make much money in the service, and their lives are constantly at risk. When I signed those papers when I was 18 years old, I had absolutely no guarantee that I was ever going to make it to 19 or 20 or 21 or to the ripe old age that I've reached. Here I am. The promise is here that we're supposed to be taken care of, that our healthcare needs are supposed to be taken care of. And yet, hundreds, thousands, who knows how many veterans are not getting their healthcare needs adequately taken care of. What is the issue here? What is the problem? Is it true that the VA, at least at the upper echelons of the administration, believes that the only good veteran is a dead veteran? Is it true that the administration doesn't like veterans? Why is that? Because they've been trained? Because they can put up a fight? I don't know. But what I do know is I hear from lots of veterans horror stories about the treatment that they receive at the VA. To be sure, I've met many people at the VA, at the treatment echelons, at the lower echelons. My primary care physician, for instance, that is very concerned about my health and very upset about things that have happened. During the last 6 months, the VA has almost killed me twice on small, routine procedures that landed me in the hospital, that crashed my kidneys. The last time, I was brought in to a private hospital, to an emergency room, in cardiac arrest on Thanksgiving Day. I was, for all intents and purposes, gone, except for the good doctors and nurses at Coral Springs Medical Center and for the EMTs that carried me there. And they were able to revive me. But was that luck or was that planning? Why, with a simple, small procedure, was I in that position at all? What's going on? What's wrong with this picture? What is happening in this situation? I'm contacting my congressman. I've already contacted him. I'd like you to contact your congressman and your senators and ask that question. Yes, we've changed the head of the Veterans Administration. Why has very little or nothing changed in the attitude of the administration of the Veterans Administration? Who is that program for? Is it for the administrators? Who is that program for? Is it for the veterans? It should be for the veterans. The health of the veterans should come first. Why is it that we're subjected to be props for teaching new doctors? I don't mind new doctors coming into play. We need new doctors. I don't mind them assisting. I don't mind them getting experience, but they need to be properly supervised. And this doesn't always happen. And I've read horror stories of veterans who have had heart catheterizations where people have tried to open up arteries, open up blood vessels that are hard as concrete, and almost died as a result. They were fortunate and able to live because they had created collaterals on their own. But that's not good medicine. The person that did that was not properly supervised. I know many other cases, and I've heard of cases where veterans have died waiting for care. I've been waiting for months now. After I got out of the hospital, the private hospital, that cost the VA probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in my case over the last several years to revive me, to bring me back from certain death, instead of doing the right thing in their own hospitals in terms of treatment. Right? I've been brought back, but it's cost more than it should have cost. It should have been done. These procedures should have been done correctly the first time. The medications that I was given should have been the correct medications and should have taken into account my needs. The procedures should have been supervised. Something happened in those procedures to shut my system down and to nearly kill me. My nephrologist and some of my doctors at Coral Springs Medical Center scratched their heads. This was a simple operation. Nothing to it. Why did it cause this problem? Other doctors at the VA, multiple doctors, tell me, oh, yes, that medication can do that, can cause that problem. Well, if you know it can cause the problem, if you've experienced the problem, why is it that that medication's in use? Why isn't it that medication is not tested on patients to make sure that they can tolerate it before giving them a full dose? Or other medications being used that will not cause that problem? Difficult to answer these questions. You have to wonder. You have to ask yourself the question, what is this government doing? It's not protecting the people. It's not protecting our liberty. It's taking more and more from the people. It's treating us as its own private set of cattle, its own herd of cattle, and milking us day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, progressively increasing its load upon us, the weight that it lays upon us. Why do we exist? Apparently, according to the federal government, by all appearances, based on the observation of our own eyes, we exist to serve the government. But wait a second. That's not why the government was formed. The government was formed to protect our liberty, to allow us to live our lives. Think about these things. Talk to your congressman. If I'm wrong, let me know. I don't think I'm wrong. We'll see you next time.
Everybody had to pay and pay. A hustle here and a hustle there. New York City is the place where they said, hey babe, take a walk on the wild side.
You have been listening to We Are the People with social advocates Tracy Marks and Jorge Estamba, who every week bring to the light the needs and changes in our current system. Tune in every Monday night at 7 p.m. on wearethepeople.tv and participate in the conversation in the chat room or call 888-565-1470. Tune in next Monday for more information and facts. And Tracy and Jorge remind you to stay aware of your surroundings and challenges at all times.